Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our October California Brokers Business Accelerator on how to optimize your day for breakthrough results, hosted by our Central California broker, Jeff Green, but also featuring a panel of our other California brokers, Tom Bullock, Steve Rowe, and Omar Hellman. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone of a few tools that we have here at Allison James. First, I want to remind everyone about our agent referral map. When you go to the referral section on your Allison James University dashboard, you will see a link for the agent referral map. This map is a great way to not only see all the areas in which Allison James agents are located, but you can also use this map to refer any clients to any other Allison James agent. Keep in mind that this map is opt-in only. Therefore, if you do not see your name on this map and you would like to be included, please go ahead and email us at support@ajicorporate.com. Speaking of referrals, keep in mind that if you are receiving a referral from an outside brokerage, you will need to provide them with a W-9. You can find the Allison James W-9 and many other useful forms under the Corporate Forms section of Allison James University. I will now pass it over to Jill Lemons, who will be briefly talking about our in-house transaction coordinator company, Sharp TC. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Tori. Good morning, everybody. I have had the privilege over the past several months to be collaborating with the transaction coordination services with Sharp TC. We had a few items that have come up that are recurring items that we've noticed that may help our agents provide a better and smoother transaction for them and their client. One of the first items is the TCs advised me that just checking off the boxes denoting which brokerage is representing each party on page 1 of section B of the RPA is a common item that is missed by agents. Again, even if you're not working with a transaction coordinator, this is something that you want to make sure that we have completed and to make it smoother for you and your client. Also including your APN number at the top of your RPA, making sure all your names are spelled correctly. Big item that we've been seeing missed quite a bit is in section D, checking that there's going to be a loan and adding the amount of financing. Some of the other items, and this one I know the brokers can attest to this, is the buyer's initialing in the bottom of the page on page 10 of the RPA. It's a common one that is missed. They initial all the other pages, they get to their signature and they forget, or they miss that bottom initialing. Again, whether working with a transaction coordinator or not, you're going to want to make sure that all of the information for both brokerages are included on page 10 of the RPA. Make sure the other agent's email is included, the address is the name of the brokerage, and especially the DRE number. This is really important for your escrow team to make sure that they have the communication, the ability to reach out to all parties. Including if you are working with a transaction coordinator, when you send your initial transaction package, make sure you include your counteroffers, your seller counteroffers, your buyer counteroffers. It is really an important part of your TC being able to work with you and get your file set up right from the get-go, set up right. Make sure you write in your seller, your buyer to pay the termite report and the section 1 clearance on page 2. That's another item that is commonly missed. Again, I've had the privilege of being able to collaborate with the transaction coordinators and be able to see things that can assist our agents on both sides. But if there is anything that we can do or you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is jlemons@ajicorporate.com, or you can contact the sales team at Sharp TC at info@sharptc.com. Again, we want to bring you the best service, and we're always here to bring value to you in your real estate career. So any questions that you may have on your file, need assistance with the transaction on a file, we're here to help. Tori, that's all I have for today. I'll go ahead and pass it back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Jill. And I will go ahead and put your email address in the chat of this GoToWebinar so everyone has it, along with the SharpTC website and email address as well. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started with our California Brokers Business Accelerator. Remember, if you have any questions at all during this presentation, go ahead and type them into the questions box of your GoToWebinar control panel, and we will answer them all at the end. I will now pass it over to our California brokers, starting with Jeff Green. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well, and you?
Good. I'm going to go ahead and pass presenter over to you.
All right.
There you go.
All right. Can you see my screen? Map your day?
Yep, you're good to go.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a topic that I've been thinking about, not just for a couple of days or weeks or months, but it's been years. And it has to do with how we use our time. And it's the make or break scenario in the life of every agent, how well you use your time. And there's a good quote, I want to read it to get started, out of a book by Peter Drucker called The Effective Executive. This is a classic management book, and you are a manager of, you're an executive. If you're a real estate agent in a transaction, you're managing all kinds of people, transaction coordinators, escrow, title, the lender, the other agent. And here's what he said about time. He said, effective executives, in my observation, do not start with their tasks, they start with their time. And they do not start out without planning. They don't start with planning. They start by finding out where their time actually goes. Then they attempt to manage their time and cut back unproductive demands on their time. Finally, they consolidate their quote-unquote discretionary time into the largest possible continuing units. And essentially what we're talking about is taking the times that you have during the day, making these contiguous, continuing time blocks that you can do things with, and you can optimize what you do during that time rather than starting or stopping. He further goes on to say the supply of time is totally inelastic. No matter how high the demand, the supply will never go up. You don't get any more time. Time is totally perishable and cannot be stored. So it is an absolute essential part of your business and part of your life to be able to manage your time. So we're going to talk about map your day, and we're going to talk about how to optimize each day for top production and sustained results, and then we're going to have a discussion at the end. So let's talk about how to get the most out of this presentation. I'm going to be moving quite quickly, so if you have any questions, type them in the comments section below on the software, the webinar software. Don't wait till the end to type them in. Just go ahead and start typing them in so we can get to them right away, and we'll involve the other brokers in the discussion at the end. Also, look for the recorded version of this presentation, which will be available at ajiuniversity.com. You will not need to take notes per se unless you have something just really dramatic that you want to write down, but all this information I share is going to be recorded. And then based on the content of this presentation, this is what you can write down. I want to encourage you to identify one action to take immediately today and 3 actions to take within 7 days. And when we talk about actions, actions are specific, measurable changes to your business. So let's go ahead and move forward. Let's talk about mapping your day. We all know that if you're going to go somewhere, you use a roadmap, most likely, or you use GPS. It'd be kind of crazy to head off to New York City in a car and just kind of figure your way as you go. You're going to take a lot longer to get there. So mapping your day has 3 components. M in the word map is for morning, A is for afternoon, and P is for PM. And we'll go into these in a little bit more detail in just a moment. First of all, let's take a look at 3 jobs that real estate agents have. You didn't know that, did you? There's 3 jobs. First job is income generation. That's prospecting and marketing. That's what you do to get the deals, to get the escrows. The next job is income servicing, making sure those deals are closing. That's your administration. And finally, there's presentation, listing and showing appointments, making people aware of what your services are when you list their house, making them aware of the process in terms of purchasing and actually showing properties. So this requires some commitment. If you're going to succeed in managing your time, it requires some commitments. I show up and perform is a commitment you should make. I show up and perform at the highest level at each job in my real estate career. Now, what happens is people fall down on lead generation or maybe on administration. Maybe they've got a lot of appointments and they fall down on it. They don't perform at the highest level at each stage. I do not allow bleed over or time theft from other activities. Sometimes we find agents that they do a lot of business, but they find out they're getting themselves into where their hobbies take over and that type of thing. And then the third commitment is I engage in single-minded compartmentalism. It's a big word, I can hardly say it. Compartmentalization. During the 90s and 80s, there was this big movement towards multitasking, and a lot of people thought, hey, if you're a good manager, you should be able to do multiple things at once. And studies have shown that you're not really multitasking. You're just starting and stopping over and over and over again. And what that causes is it causes failure because you begin to have all these transition points in your day. And finally, I practice ruthless time blocking. I've run into agents who made commitments and they said, I want to be held accountable. And I said to one agent, I said, well, where were you during your prospecting time? I was at a home inspection. I said, why were you at a home inspection? The inspector told me that I only do home inspections in the morning. And my response was, why didn't you tell them you only do your prospecting in the morning? And if they come back and say, well, I can't work in the afternoon, you just tell them I can't have the inspection until the afternoon. And by the way, it's my prospecting that brought you this inspection. So it's just a matter of perspective. You've got to be ruthless in your time blocking. So let's understand also the difference between your work and your business. Your work is listing and selling homes. Your business is what creates that work. Many agents get so caught up in their work that they forget their business. And before they know it, they focus on their business only when they're out of work. And this creates a roller coaster cycle. You've seen it, you've heard about it before, but maybe you don't understand the cause of it. You find yourself out of money and out of work quickly, and this is the death and decline of many, many real estate careers. And in fact, I've seen a lot of people over the years, they start off, they go into real estate, they have this big sphere of influence, everybody finally finds out they're in real estate, they burn through their sphere of influence, and they burn through their business, and they have nothing left. I want to talk about something called Parkinsons Law, not to be confused with Parkinson's syndrome. Parkinson's Law is a management term, and it states this, that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. So it's kind of like you give somebody a task to do. Hey, we need this report done, and it's a half-hour or 30-minute job. Hey, get it back to me by the end of the week. You know when you're going to get that. You're going to get it at the end of the week. The same thing with all your business practice. If you give yourself too much time, you'll find yourself just taking forever to get the job done. This Parkinson's Law seems to work in every aspect of the realtor's business except their prospecting. I rarely find people that say, well, I was going to prospect for 2 hours, but I got lost in it. And instead of making 100 phone calls, I made 200. It doesn't happen too often. There are some people it does happen to, but it's pretty rare. So Parkinson's Law, Asimov had a corollary to Parkinson's Law. He said in 10 hours a day, you have time to should say fail, not fall, fail twice as, or fall, excuse me, that's right, fall twice as far behind on your commitments as in 5 hours a day. And this becomes a very, very challenging thing for people because their day just gets away from them. So the key to this is setting time limits for work, mapping your day. I'll explain Bugs Bunny in a minute. Set time limits on every bit of work you do. In fact, it might even be helpful to you to time your work. If you're working on a specific project, maybe it's setting up showings for buyers, set a timer on that. If it's taking you an inordinate amount of time, you need to figure out a more efficient way to do it. It could be actual showing appointments. How long are you on a showing appointment, or how long does it take you to do a listing presentation? If it's taking you an hour to give a 15-minute presentation, then maybe you need to adjust what you're doing. So time what you do, make commitments, and commit to the time needed to complete the work, and commit to the shortest deadline possible to complete tasks. If you don't, you'll find yourself in a situation where you have the never-ending task. So you have to continue. Never start a task without committing an end time. Time all your tasks. This will help you avoid the Big Bang and the expanding universe syndrome. The Big Bang, whether you believe in it or not, is the theory that the entire universe started with this Big Bang and is continuing to expand forever and ever and ever. And actually the shape of the universe is being formed by the size of it. It's just some weird scientific concept, hard for us to wrap our brains around. But this is what happens to a lot of tasks. They start with a Big Bang and they expand forever and ever. And also this tendency to chase rabbits, and that's why Bugs Bunny is there. We begin to get on a task, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and we get on that conversation. They remind us about the event that we forgot to put on our calendar, and now we're drilling down into our calendar. We don't know the exact time, so we're calling our title rep, and the title rep says, hey, we've got this new app. Would you like to see it? And an hour later, we've lost complete focus on what we're doing because we've chased rabbits. The next thing, beyond setting time limits for work, is spend positive emotional energy on people and remove emotion from processes. Now, if you don't recognize this guy on the right side of the screen, it's Spock. And Spock is not supposed to be emotional, but there was a few episodes in Star Trek where he got emotional, and he played the role of having emotions and crying and laughing, and it just was a weird thing to see him, who was supposed to be this stoic, logical guy, suddenly becoming emotional. And what happens is agents lack the drive for prospecting because they become too emotional about it, which drains their fortitude. Maybe they're knocking doors, and they knock on the door and somebody was rude to them. Oh my gosh, they were so rude to me. My feelings are hurt. Or maybe they're on a phone call and somebody hangs up on them. And what happens is we start spending our emotional capital on something that's not really, it shouldn't be an emotional process. What we have to do is detach ourselves from the emotional outcome of systematic work and receive our affirmation from accomplished metrics. What do I mean by that? Hey, don't feel good because somebody said something nice to you on the phone. It's okay, you can feel a little bit good about that, but don't let that blow up into some big emotional event and you put the phone down and you just kind of, enjoy the moment. Or don't get depressed because you made 40 phone calls and nobody answered, or you knocked 35 doors and nobody picked up, nobody answered the door, or you didn't get any appointments. You should become emotionally excited about completing your metrics, knowing that if you knock on 40 doors today and 40 doors tomorrow and 40 doors the next day, and maybe for the whole month, you're going to get an escrow, and that escrow may be worth $10,000, $15,000. So detach yourself from the emotional outcome of daily routine behavior. If not, what happens is, and this happens to a lot of agents, they burn out emotionally based on how they react to processes, and by the time they get around to meeting clients, they've become either robotic or overly emotional, and everything's a big deal. Oh my God, I can't believe they didn't get that paperwork back to me within the last 20 minutes, and people are worked up and emotional, and they bring emotions into the transaction, and it becomes crazy. So the solution to this is mapping your day. We mentioned it earlier. Having a defined morning time for making money, prospecting, afternoon time for administration, and your evening time for presentations. I'll break them down quickly. Morning time. Morning is your money time. Remember, it's morning, not morning. People get up, and I hear the most negativity from people in the morning about the market, what's going on. Morning should be exciting. This is when you reach people, you set appointments. And by the way, if you're in this prospecting mode and you're worried about prospecting and how it affects your mind, change the name of it. Call it something different. Maybe call it appointment setting time. Get yourself in the right mindset. Prospect and follow up on your leads during the morning. And remember, the fortune's in the follow-up. That's where you make your money, not by going to the golf course, and maybe unless you're prospecting there or meeting people. But set your prospecting time as non-negotiable in your schedule and expect results and believe in your prospecting processes. You should expect to have some success in your mornings. Set your expectation. Afternoon, administration. Keep this time as short as possible, 30 minutes to an hour. Delegate, automate, eliminate everything you can that you don't need to be doing. Again, back to Peter Drucker, do what you do best, outsource the rest. I see people making $10, $15, $20, $30,000 commissions, and they're too cheap to hire a transaction coordinator for a fraction of the cost that will save them 20, 30 hours of grief during the transaction of shuffling paper. Do what you do best, outsource the rest. And the bottom line is you are what you do not delegate. If you're the guy that, does all the administration work, you're the administrator. If you do a $10, $12 an hour job as part of your regular practice and you don't delegate it, that's what you are. You become your assistant. You become your own assistant. And you rob yourself of the income earning potential that you have to work at a higher level. So strategically staff your business. If you need help with that, talk to your broker. We're here. We can help you with that. And avoid bleed over from one task to the other. Focus and get that administrative work done. Finally, the PM for presentations. This is when you make listing presentations. This is when you make buyer presentations. If you have no buyer or seller activity, no appointments, present yourself through marketing. Focus on marketing, web, social media, live video, door knock, do some open houses, do some print marketing, routine and scheduled and very strategic, and add additional prospecting to your schedule. If you run out of things, just keep going. So coming to the final stretch here, the transaction death cycle. We talked about this earlier. Agent opens one or more escrows and they stop prospecting. Escrow closes with no new business or income in sight. Why? It's poor time management and misguided commitments. Here's what happens to a lot of people. They get overwhelmed with the escrow because that time of the day when they would normally do administration, they've already blocked it out for recreation or non-work activities. So you have to schedule your work in such a way that you are constantly actually working during the day. If you don't have an escrow going on, make sure that you have that time filled with other work so that when you do have an escrow, the ability to shift into work mode during that time isn't going to become something out of your control. The solution is this: work full days, whether you are in escrow or not. There's plenty to do. If you need to get projects done that you can't do when you're in escrow, work those full days. And I encourage people during the holiday season, make sure you keep a full schedule so you get the tasks done now that you won't have to do later when maybe you're busy with a lot of escrows in the spring. Then when you open an escrow, you won't have to take time away from your prospecting because of the fact that all your systems are in order. Just remember this: you do not have a part-time job. I run into non-producing agents that act as though they can make $10,000 to $20,000 a month working 1 to 2 hours per day. And I'm going to tell you, this is pure fantasy. You just can't do it. Gosh, I made 20 contacts to my database. 20 contacts. How much time do you spend? Spend about 15 minutes. And you want to make $10,000 to $20,000 a month? I want that job. Show me where I can sign up. I'll be there. If I can work 1 to 2 hours a day and make that kind of money, sign me up. I'll be the first one in line. When non-producing agents don't have escrows, they think they have no work to do, and they thus neglect the fundamentals of their business. So agents without a consistent work plan have a dramatic swing between too much activity and very little activity. Just like you have a dramatic swing between no income and income, if you have no consistent work plan, all that extra work in the escrow will pile up. All those things that you needed to get out of the way will be in the way. You must have a consistent work plan. So, just a final few thoughts here. Embrace repetitive and tedious work. Acknowledge that repeated effort builds towards your goal. Get rid of emotionalism and grind out the work. Block that time out, and when you accomplish your metrics, your daily goals, reward yourself. Make note of successive wins, log the milestones, share them with people, share them with friends, share them with family. People will love to hear your successes, your fellow agents, and set clear barriers between your work time and personal time. Otherwise, you'll be half working and half not working pretty much all your waking hours. So to summarize, map your day. Morning is your money time, afternoon's your administrative time, and then the PM, you're making presentations. So with that, I'm going to open it up to discussion and Q&A.
All right, we don't have any questions right now, so I see Tom, if you want to go ahead.
Great presentation, Jeff. You did an excellent job. And the one point I just want to reiterate that Jeff pointed out was the emotion. You need to, as an agent, you need to adopt a middle of the road type of emotional approach to your business. You can't allow yourself to get too high when things are going well, and you cannot allow yourself to get too low when you're struggling. So please keep that emotional personality trait that we all have in check. Keep in mind, this is business, it's not personal. So please keep that emotional urge in check and just approach it every day, like Jeff said. Just approach it every day and stay focused, stay on time, and that will go a long way, not only for the immediacy of improving your business, but for the long term of your business as well. You know, if you take this approach from today moving forward, you will find that your business will move much smoother. It'll become automatic and will be a great asset to both you as well as your clients in the future. Good job, Jeff.
Omar or Steve?
So, Jeff, I think what you've touched on is something that a lot of agents struggle with is how do they go about their day-to-day? Obviously, being in an industry where you have to be self-motivated every single day and make strides on your own to accomplish your goals. There are a few things that I would like to add to your daily schedule that you just need to have in order to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Number one, you really have to understand your why. Why are you in this business? Why do you want to accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish? And why are you in this industry to begin with, in sales in general? Understanding that really will help you guide you through the day, because you can always look back if you're struggling, if you're looking at the mundane, the day-to-day activities, and understanding why at the end you are doing all of this and what your ultimate goal will be for that month, that week, that year. It'll help you kind of get back on focus and on track. Additionally, you touched on a few things that agents probably tend to see regularly, which is they'll maybe want to work a few hours a day but not really see the results initially. You have to stick to your priorities and know what your schedule is going to be that day to follow through and let the activities play out. It's not going to be an overnight success type of thing. You have to build this up. It's a numbers game. And every time you accomplish a small goal, reward yourself with something that's going to allow you to continue moving forward and pushing forward every day. I think these are all very motivational and so forth, but really you have to stay focused on the meat and potatoes of why you're doing this, and how to get there is by continuing the activities regularly, not losing focus on your ultimate goals, and obviously being motivated, holding yourself accountable, having somebody that's going to hold you accountable to your goals. Those are very, very important. Surround yourself with people that are like-minded. Surround yourself with people that are successful or more successful than you, and I think you'll start to see you'll achieve your goals a lot quicker. That's what I have to share today. Thanks for your presentation, Jeff. It's been really helpful, I think, for a lot of agents to see this, especially going into the next year.
when I'm looking at this, I think the theme that I've heard from each one of us so far is whatever you do, you have to have a plan, and you have to be consistent with that plan. Jeff laid out, an acronym that's easy to remember, that MAP acronym. But for some of you, that particular MAP may not work for you. You might need to rearrange that a little bit, maybe come up with your own acronym that you can remember. But the key is if this particular schedule isn't what works best for you, create one that does and be consistent at it. I think for a lot of us, it's difficult to do the same pattern every day. And that's okay as long as you have a pattern and as long as you're planning to make sure that each of these jobs that you have in your business are accomplished. So, ultimately, some people will look at it and say, well, yeah, that's a great idea, but that schedule doesn't work for me. It doesn't matter. The concept is still the same. Work a schedule that does work for you, that does meet your needs, and do it, but like Jeff used the term, ruthlessly, protect it, guard it, make sure that it gets accomplished. Those are great things. I think one of the thoughts that I had in all of this is, just the mindset of realizing that you do have a job and you are your primary employee. And when you look back and you look at how you planned your days, how you worked your jobs, would you hire you based on your commitment, based on your production and your day-by-day activities, and if not, you need to become a better employee for yourself and your business and for your family. So great thoughts. This business doesn't happen by accident. It takes a plan, and it takes being able to hit all of these pieces of the puzzle and hitting them well. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. What you've given to us here.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate your thoughts on all this. I just want to leave with a parting thought for everybody, and that is, if you are not making the money that you want to make, and you're not living the lifestyle you want to make, it largely has to do with how you use your time. So the solution to this is not to get overwhelmed, but to do an audit or a diagnostic. It's like your car. If your car going down the road and it starts running poorly, you're going to go to the mechanic and you're going to say, hey, this, it seems like when I get over 50 miles an hour, it's shaking in the front. What's going on? They're going to look at that. There's going to be a solution. But it usually is an outside person that can assess that. You don't have that equipment. Somebody with another view of how things are going on. The same thing with your health. If you've got a health issue, you go you see a physician and they're able to assess what's going on. Your finances, if your money's not flowing properly, you look at your checkbook, you look and see how your expenses have been going. And so you do an assessment. So I want to encourage everybody to do an assessment of how you're spending your money. Get some outside help. It's a good thing for your broker to do, to help you have that conversation with you. How are you spending your time? Because here's the reality. You should, in this business and in this market, be able to make a very, very significant living in a 40-hour work week. You don't have to be working 90 hours a week. You can be making, 150, 200,000 a year. The price point is back. We're able to do that. And why would you take that period of work that you have and make that kind of money and spread it out over 90 hours or longer where it's not comfortable and you're bleeding into your personal activities? So do an assessment, and I wish all of you the best and great success in your real estate practice.
Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us on this month's California Brokers Business Accelerator. Thank you to all of our California brokers, Tom, Steve, Omar, for all of your wonderful insight, as always. And of course, a very special thank you to Jeff Green for putting together such a great topic and presentation. I know we all took a lot away from this one, and we all really enjoyed it. We will see you all next month for another California Brokers Business Accelerator. Thanks again for joining, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye, everyone.